All right, folks, decided to go live tonight before this big ball game, national championship. I think this is a great matchup. It should be a lot of fun. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I've told you that I think Indiana's going to pull this off based on everything that I've watched this year and quarterback play, et cetera. But Miami does have the edge on the line. Their defensive line's really good, and so is their offensive line. And people, they like to sell Carson Beck short for whatever reason, maybe because of a few struggles here and there at Georgia, which really weren't bad. But a lot of people in the SEC don't give him a lot of credit. I think he's a heck of a quarterback. And he's especially good when he starts trying to run the ball. You know, a lot of times he'll play in the ACC and he doesn't really have to run. But in these big games, you've noticed he's been running quite a bit. And that makes him very dangerous because he's a pretty good runner. Now, he's not great, but he's good enough. Just like Mendoza's not some superstar running quarterback, but he guts you when he does run. So it's tricky. But anyway, I'm pretty pumped about this game. And there's a lot of other things we're going to talk about in this pre-show too. We've got tons going on in college football, as you know. It's been pretty out of hand. And we've got a discussion of the 16 team. We've got the quarterback for Duke being taken by Miami. We're talking about Miami. And they're literally taking Duke's quarterback, which is all kinds of wrong. Everything about that is wrong. And Duke is in a bad spot. Mensa, I mean, the $4 million contract, and they just took him like it was nothing. And now we've got Tony Petitti, who does not want to go to 16 teams. He wants to go to 24. We know about that. That's kind of ridiculous that he would want to double the number of teams in. Why not go incremental and see how it goes? You know, you shouldn't just – one does not fly into flying. I saw that on Coming to America. One must walk first. So it's going to get rough, but like I said, I'm pretty pumped about this game. And I think, look, we're just going to have to do this tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
I missed that. That was always fun. The keys to this game will definitely be for Miami. They have got to get Mendoza off the field. They've got to 3-and-out him, and they got to put pressure on him. They need to sack him if possible, and they've got the defensive line to do it. That's where Miami's strength is. Their defensive line and that offensive line is something special. They've got, I think, 2 or 3 5-stars on their offensive line. Same with their D-line. If they allow Mendoza or Mendoza starts moving the ball down the field on a consistent basis in the first half, especially the first quarter, what's going to happen, and I don't care how good your line is, Miami's defensive line will get tired. And if that happens, it's Katie bar the door, because Mendoza, if he gets in a rhythm, it could get a really long night for Miami. That's what you can't let happen. You got to get to him. I mean, I'd put everything I could to try to pressure him. And I know that makes you susceptible to the deep ball and several other things. But if you don't put him on his butt and get him out off that field and onto the sideline with some 3-and-outs early on and keep your defensive line fresh, I just don't see how they're going to be able to beat Indiana under those circumstances. You must get him off of the field, period. And I think Indiana will do a pretty solid job against Beck. Beck cannot have any 3. And I think what Beck's going to have to do is whatever it takes. And if he's got to run the ball 10, 12, 14 times, then that's what he's going to have to do. Because Indiana's solid all the way around. Their strength is their quarterback play and just an overall professional aspect of that team. They don't commit a bunch of turnovers. They don't commit a bunch of personal fouls or penalties or any of that crap. They just don't. They're so well run, and they're like 23 years old is their average age. They're old as crap. And Kurt Cignetti has been really smart about going out and getting guys that are good quality players that have been starting for 2 and 3 years and then pulling them into Indiana. And they know what to do. You know, he doesn't have a bunch of freshmen trying to figure things out. He didn't have any of that. It's all 3rd, 4th, 5th year guys. And they know exactly what they need to do and when to do it. So I would say Cignetti, it's probably going to be like this with him and Mendoza.
What's the matter with you?
I'll make it.
All right. Buddy, get the ball to Jimmy, top of the key. Buster, just spread the floor. Let's go.
Yeah, that's it. I knew I had to put the Hoosiers. You knew I was going to have to put Hoosiers in. I had no choice. That is such a fantastic movie. It's so underappreciated. That movie is so underappreciated. And the problem that happened, they opened it up. They didn't open up across the country. They opened it up in like states, and it never got the viewership or the recognition that it deserved, but it's a great movie. I love Hoosiers. If you're a basketball fan, you probably appreciate that movie. It's fantastic. Let's see. Oh, yeah. It says, I'll make it. No legitimate Hoosier doesn't know that movie by heart. None of them. Yeah, R.I.P. Yeah, that's right. Gene Hackman. Gene was a good actor. I loved him in now this a little bit before my time was French Connection. I wound up appreciating it later. And French Connection too. And they had all the crap in the car and all that. It was just, that's another, if you have not watched French Connection, that's a great movie. I picked that up way later in life. I don't know. I wasn't a fan of his until that movie. Yeah, very good. But anyway, this should be an exciting game. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about college football in general. We talked about the No 16 team. We've talked about the tampering, all that crap. And folks, the collective bargaining will eventually get there, but it's going to get real ugly very soon. The College Sports Commission, which is a false front for the NCAA, it's really the NCAA. They just don't want their name attached to it because it's, they keep getting beat so bad. But they're going to have to go after some of these teams and some of these coaches, and they're going to try to, but I don't know if they can really do anything. But I think it's going to get, well, Dalton, tell him.
It'll get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, Dalton knows it's definitely going to get worse here in the next couple of months.
Roadhouse.
Yeah, Roadhouse. Just expect it. And I don't see any way that it doesn't, because they cannot allow Miami to go take Duke's quarterback. How can they allow that? Mensah. I mean, he signed a contract. And we've had that problem with DeMond Williams up at Washington, but the Big Ten came to Washington's defense. The problem you've got here is the ACC needs Miami. Miami is what are they? They're their cowbell. They're their primary source of revenue right now is Miami. So Jim Phillips and the ACC really can't go after them real hard like the Big Ten did with defending Washington. Tony Petitti came running in for Jed Fish and protected him as best he could and made it clear to Lane Kiffin, you're not just going to come in here and take this quarterback. And really, Duke's going to have to do that. But Jim Phillips is going to struggle because if he does that, look, he's already worried about losing teams in 2030, which will be Florida State. Florida State's waiting on the bell. Okay, as soon as 2030 hits at $70 million, they're collecting money as we speak. They're going to be out of that conference. Then you've got Clemson and Miami, North Carolina, and North Carolina is going to be in heavy demand from both the Big Ten and the SEC. That's a very valuable university to have, and neither of the conferences have that footprint. So people will be going after them. So he's going to have to be careful really how hard he goes after Miami. But if Miami's allowed to break that contract and just give Duke some money, that means no contract is valid. That's what that means. You may think you've got players signed, But they can leave like that if that's the case. If Mintz is allowed to leave, anybody can leave. So they're going to have to do something about it. And it's not going to be pretty. I kind of feel like NCAA or the College Sports Commission, NCAA, is going to have to do something about this situation.
I'm just curious. I saw you shuffling your checks with your right hand. Can you do that with both hands?
No.
Can't do it with both hands.
No, sir.
Sorry, Miami. Y'all can't have that quarterback. That's just wrong. And you're destroying Duke, who is in your conference. They're in the ACC. This is your brethren that you're completely, you're raiding them. It's not, you're not a Viking. Hey, Miami, you're not a Viking. You don't get to just go through and raid the fields and the homes and everything. That's not how it works. So anyway, there's a lot of people that are dealing with a lot. And look, we're at Tennessee, we're waiting to find out about Joey Aguilar. And we finally got a date, which is February 10th at 1 p.m. Central Time. And shout out to Kevin Gentry. He actually sent that to me a couple days ago. Architect, worked at Gibbs Hall, same place that when I went to UT. I lived at Gibbs Hall, and he worked there and worked his way through being an architect. But anyway, he sent that to me several days ago. I think he was the first one to know about it. I do have inside sources. But anyway, we're waiting patiently, very impatiently, to find out if Joey Aguilar is going to get that extra year. It's very frustrating.
Well, we're waiting.
Yeah, and we brought in the third string quarterback from Colorado. I don't understand. I guess they just wanted a third quarterback. I really don't know. But most of the people in Tennessee can't quite figure it out. But anyway, should be a heck of a day coming up in 2 weeks on that. We will see. We've also got the problem. Lane Kiffin has gone in and raided Ole Miss. As many of you have probably heard, he allegedly, and this is from the Ole Miss journalists, all right, actual real-life journalists, that were like, this dude is doing so much crap and did so much to Ole Miss at the end of the portal that he was sending out false information as far as how much money was getting paid. Of course, there's nobody can harm a team more than a head coach leaving, because he knows everything. He knows how much every player is getting paid, what they aren't getting paid, all of that. And typically the new guys coming in get more money than the ones that are there. So my understanding is he put all that out and was supposedly communicating directly with the players and got some of them to enter the portal and then to go to LSU. I believe they got the leading tackler, and they're trying to get this Prince Will guy. That's an ugly mess. Prince Will found out he wasn't making as much money as a new guy coming in. So he entered the portal even though he's signed a contract. Now, how he found that out, you can imagine. So there's a lot of Ole Miss is super angry with Lane Kiffin right now, and I mean, they could not be any more angry with him. It's very much like
you don't talk to me like that. People are scared of me.
Why would anyone be scared of you? I hate you, you big fat turd.
Yeah, that's 100% how it is down there in Ole Miss land. So that's going on. This is. I've been following college football probably like a lot of you for a long, long time. I have been for, good grief, I want to say, folks, it's been 50 years I've been watching college football, and probably really heavily ever since high school. And then, of course, when I went to UT. So you can imagine. But I've never seen anything like this. Have you? I mean, this is unbelievable what's happening. And nobody, there's nobody in control. Finish last, and it says good guys finish last, and we're going to be oh God. Let's talk about that. Rocky Top, appreciate the $10. We need to talk about that. Here's the thing. We've got a athletic director that's playing by the rules, and he came out at the end of the portal because everybody was so angry and frustrated that we didn't get a quarterback, because we've got 2 freshman quarterbacks. They're highly touted, but they don't have any experience, and one of them's a real skinny dude. And, obviously people are concerned about him being able to handle the SEC at his size. He's 195 pounds, 6'6", super skinny. Well, anyway, he comes out and gives 3 interviews. All right. Is this to cover for Josh Heupel of why he didn't get a quarterback? Is it to try to calm the waters? Is it to set us up for a transition year or a building year, which we don't need in year 6 of Josh Heupel? I don't know. But he pretty much came out and said, look, there's a bunch of teams that are cheating like crazy. He didn't name them, but I mean, it's pretty easy to know which ones they are. It's obvious if you just read any of the news articles. But he said there's a ton of cheating going on. He said, we cannot cheat. We're not going to. We're on probation till 2028 because of the Jeremy Pruitt thing. Now, Jeremy's no longer under probation because a judge threw that out because what he did, paying $62,000 over 2 years to some players, is now legal. So he was like, he threw it out. But Tennessee is technically still in probation for whatever, which I don't think they are really. But anyway, that's what he threw out there. And he said, well, we can't. And that may have something to do with why Tony V's not with us anymore. Because my understanding was he had promised some players some money, and obviously that money wasn't available. And I think he got ticked off because that's the scuttlebutt is one of the reasons why Tony left. Tony V. And you Tennessee fans know what I'm talking about, the head coach or the coach of the baseball team that won a natty. So there's some frustration there. And, yeah, I mean, we're playing by the rules, but we're going to get left behind something awful when you've got Texas A&M, and LSU that are spending $40 million for their entire team, and we're going to be spending 15 to 20. And, I mean, we do have some Adidas money, but a lot of that went to our basketball team. Obviously, Nate Ament got $4 million of it, and Gillespie probably got $3 million, I believe. So, anyway, it's really Tennessee's got some issues. Now, we've done a great job on defense. We went out and we got the best defensive coordinator available in Jim Knowles. We've loaded up on defense. Just about everybody in the portal that we've gotten has been a defensive player. We're pretty much changing out the defense. And I believe I just read where Arian Carter's coming back too, a terrific linebacker. He had double turf toe, which I've never had turf toe. I know it's a serious problem, and you have to rest it. The only way to get over turf toe is you've got to take several months off. So now, of course, he'll be able to do that. But, yeah. Well, here's the thing. Cignetti has a billionaire behind him. I know 2 years ago he got $15 million, I believe, for players, and I don't know how much he got this last year. I'm sure it was at least that or more. I don't know how much he's spending, but Cignetti's done a great job. I mean, there's no question. I don't think he's spending $40 million, though, not based on the roster that he's got. I think he almost gets discounts from players that want to go there and get developed. So I don't think he's spending anywhere close to $40 million. He's probably spending about $20, and he's done a fantastic job. I don't think there's any way that you can even think anything other than that. Yeah, it's Mark Cuban. Yeah, he came out and said he did. And, $10, $15 million is nothing to a billionaire. That's change. They got to get the lint out of their pockets and the change that's there and just give them that. The $30 million that the Oracle billionaire is helping Michigan with to pay their penalty, that was there was 5 zeros, point and 5 zeros and a 6% of his net income, of his net worth. So, yeah, that billion's a lot. I doubt he gave 100. I doubt it's that much. That would be kind of crazy, unless some of it was to, stadium work and things like that. That is possible. He may have, set up a donation thing where it's a certain amount each year, up to 100, or maybe he needed a tax write-off. Here's the thing: the NIL. If you donate money for NIL, you can't write that off. But if you donate money for a building or a stadium or something like that, you can write that off. So that's why you need a billionaire. You need somebody with stupid money because they can't write it off. They need more money than they have sense. Well, I guess they probably, unless they inherited it, they got some sense. That's how they made it. But anyway, should be very interesting to see how this plays out. I think we're going to have some real fireworks in the next month or two, because if the CSC lets this happen, College Sports Commission, aka NCAA, they're done. I mean, they're done before they even get started. If you're allowed to go and take a quarterback from another team even in your own conference, that's even worse. But if you're allowed to do that, then Deloitte and College Sports Commission, y'all just might as well shut down. All right, you're just nothing but a figurehead, which I guess that's what the NCAA is now anyway. But I'm sure the CSC doesn't want to be known as a figurehead. They'll probably try to do something, but what can they really do, folks? It's going to be, like I said, you're going to see some fireworks, because I promise you, when they go after Miami, or if they go after Lane, which they probably will, or Texas and Texas A&M, they're not going to say, "Oh, okay, that's fine." No, Lane will tell them to stick it, and so will Miami and Texas A&M. Those guys have so many billionaires in their pockets, it's not even funny. That oil, see, the thing about oil, it does this 24/7. That's all it does, is pump oil. And they've got hundreds and thousands of them. And they make them, every time that thing does this, $60. And it does it thousands of times over and over and over. You know, so they're not worried about money in Texas, and they're not worried about power. So we'll see how that plays out. What the crap? Oh, good grief. Have to get rid of this. The thing about live, sometimes you get a little bit of spam. Let me ban that. Every once in a while, you got to ban a spammer. Unfortunately, it's the way it is. And I don't really know why they do that. I think it's to get you to watch their YouTube something. I don't know. It's usually from another country. Anyway, I try to protect you from it best I can. Yeah, because they just got banned. And it's super rare for me to ever ban. I will ban a spam person, though. I have no choice. Miami. Here's the thing about Miami, and I know this for a fact. They've got 2 or 3 big-time donors that really care about their football. If you've noticed, when they play football, they'll be 8-0 or 8-1, and they'll be playing Duke, who is 6-1 or 7-1, whatever. And there'll be 30,000 people in the stadium, literally 30,000, which is crazy. It's half empty. But what they've got, though, are those donors, and those donors don't care, and they will give them tens of millions of dollars. And that's how they were able to put this team together. I mean, that defensive line, there's 3 or 4 guys on there that are probably making $2 million each. Carson Beck is making, I think, 5. What's he making? 4 or 5 or 6. I can't remember the exact number. But they got him out of the NFL draft. He was getting ready to go in the draft, and they were like, "We'll pay you more than you would make in the NFL as a first rounder, based on what they thought he'd get picked." And he had fallen a little bit. You know, he's probably would have gone late in the first round. So $5 million or whatever would be better. So that's what they tried to do recently with Ty Simpson. And I think they offered him 6.5. And he said, "No, I'm going NFL." And with the quarterback at Oregon not going, that just pushed Ty Simpson up another notch. So he'll probably be the second quarterback to go off the board behind, I guess, Mendoza. So they weren't able to get him. So they got into panic mode. And that's when they went after Mensa. Mensa's a fantastic quarterback, 34 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, something like that, threw for about 4,000 yards. He's just outstanding. He's really good. And they were paying him $8 million for 2 years, $4 million each year. And he just walked away. And you knew it was panic because it was the last day of the portal. And I guess Miami realized we have to do something. So they went to Mensa and said, "What's it going to take?" And they in their mind, they think they're going to be able to just pay Duke the payoff. That's not how that contract's set up. Only Duke can cancel the contract. Only Duke. That part is one-sided. The second part of it is the only way he can be paid through revenue sharing is through Duke. That's how it's written. That's been heavily reported. So they're not signing off on him going in the portal. They're not doing the paperwork or any of that. I think they're going to sue the crap. I think they're just going to sue, is what's happening. So it should be pretty interesting. And I look forward to seeing how it plays out, because, like I said, I think we're going to see some real fireworks. Lane has done things down there that are they're so across the board. I mean, if he'd have done this 20 years ago when NCAA was powerful, oh my gosh. I mean, they just ban him. But in 2026, I don't know if there are any rules. He may be fine doing all this. You know, I can tell you this much. He has not hesitated for a second doing it. I mean, he's to go in there and mess with Ole Miss the way that he did. I mean, he decided, okay, you didn't let me coach the playoffs. Watch what I do now. I'm going to make your locker room a nightmare. And I'm going to pick off some of these guys. But even if I don't get them all, that's okay as long as you have chaos, total and complete chaos. And it worked. It worked really well. There was about 24, 48 hours down there where the Ole Miss people were going absolutely apoplectic. They were so furious. And it was partly to get some players, and it was partly just a vendetta. He's very vindictive, and you got to let him do what he wants or he's going to make you pay. So anyway, we've got, let's see, 35 minutes till kickoff, 7:30. Now, they'll probably kick off at 7:45. Normally, they crap around for 10 or 15 minutes before a game actually kicks off, especially a national title. I mean, you're going to have all the talking heads that'll from 7:30 to 7:45. They'll be doing a bunch of crap, and you'll get to hear whatever. So, but 7:30 tonight, which is the perfect time, Eastern time, to kick off a game. That way everybody gets to watch all the way to the West Coast. And I think this is going to have a lot of viewership because these are two teams that have not played for a well, Indiana, I don't guess ever has. And then Miami's not since what? Did they ever play for a natty in the 90s? I know they did in the 80s. I think they've won several. I think they've won 4 or 5. They were huge in the 80s. For some of you younger people, you don't know that. But probably in the 90s or something. Another bot. Let me see. Ah, crap. Yeah, let me get rid of them. Okay. Thanks for the heads up on that one. I went ahead and banned the spammer or the bot. Anyway, unfortunately, it is what it is. What happens, they don't hit you with just one. They just start streaming the damn things. Anyway, see if I made y'all some other stuff here that I was thinking about. Oh, we haven't talked about the recruits. Recruiting from now on, and we talked about this a little bit a week ago or a few days ago. The money that these 5 stars were getting as 18-year-olds, that's over with, folks. The $2 million, $3 million, $1 million, all that, to come in and sit on the bench and learn how to play college ball for a year, you're not going to see that anymore. You're not going to see teams stacking the 5 stars and putting all their money in recruiting. It's not going to happen because you tie up $5-10 million that's going to sit on the bench for a year, and then they're going to leave you the next year. All right, they're not stuck with you. They can go, oh, thanks for the $2 million, but they offered me $3 million for the next year, and you're going to go, yeah, but you haven't done anything. Say, yeah, I know, but I'm going to. You helped me put on 20 pounds, and now I know what I'm doing. You've taught me all this and got me strong, so I'm going to go over here and take 3.5, unless you want to pay that to me too. And they're not going to be able to because they've already wasted so much money on you in the first place. So this is what it's going to be like for the 5 stars in 2027.
No. No.
Right there. That's exactly what it's going to be like. They're going to be crying and screaming. And this happened in the NFL. If you folks that have followed the NFL, you know this. These guys that were getting the crazy money coming out of college, they put an end to that. And now you've got to get to the second contract because all the veterans are like, you're paying these guys $5-10 million a year and they can't do anything. And we're getting $1 or $2 million and we're carrying the whole team. So the union got ticked off and the ownership agreed. So now you have to get to the second contract in the NFL. Well, that's how it's going to be in college football. You're going to have to get to the second year to get any money. You can come in as a 5-star. The only ones that will get any serious money will be the quarterbacks. They may still get decent money, but it's not going to be anything crazy. I can just go ahead. It will not be because you don't need them. You cannot tie up $5 million and put it on the bench when you're supposedly, well, a lot of teams are limited. Now, if you're LSU, Texas A&M, Miami, et cetera, or Texas Tech, you're not. You can spend $1 billion, I guess. But for the rest of the teams out there that are going to play by the rules that they signed to, the House settlement, They've got 20.5 to spend, and some of that's got to go to other sports. So they're not going to just go spend crazy. You're going to have the haves and the have-nots. You're going to have the haves that do whatever they want and break the rules and have the money. And then you're going to have the have-nots, which will probably be 75% of the rest of the teams, I would guess. I would say it'll be 10, 20% that will break the rules and be 80% that don't. And they may not have the money to do so. There's a lot of these universities don't have unlimited money. A lot of them operate at a net loss with sports. So they're going to struggle to be able to spend the whole 20.5. You don't have to, by the way. You do not have to spend a whole 20.5. You also have the ability to add 20 more scholarships, which is another, it's a lot of money for those scholarships. And a lot of people think, oh, it's just a scholarship. No, the athletic department has to write a check for that scholarship and send it to the university. They're separate. And you got to say, okay, this is $50,000. Here you go, times 20 for the football team, and then plus another 10 for baseball. And it's like 100 scholarships. So it's going to be like $5 million more on top of the 20.5 that you're going to spend. So it gets expensive, this house settlement. It's a lot of money. So I think you'll see they'll be very economical when it comes to the young players coming out of high school. And I think they'll spend the money on the veterans that they know. Well, I mean, here's the thing that Kurt Cignetti has pretty much shown us. And I'll give some credit to Lane. He's kind of shown everybody too what he did at Ole Miss. Go out there and get the proven guys. Even if they were 3 stars in high school, so what? They're not 3 stars anymore. They're proven guys that can produce, and spend your money there. Just exactly what Indiana did. I mean, he brought in how many guys from James Madison? He brought in his best guys from James Madison. Now, these were low 2- and 3-star guys that came out of high school, but because they had been working for him basically, and he's been, bringing them up for 3 or 4 years there at Madison, they're really good. And he brought the very best ones with him. And then he went out and got 20 more all across the country, and they were great last year. And everybody was like, what the crap? And now they're even better this year. And this Mendoza guy, I got to give him a lot of credit for the development of Mendoza, because he was good. He was a very good quarterback at California, but he wasn't this good. He was not anywhere near this good. And that's the second quarterback he's done that with. I cannot remember the guy from last year, but he was fantastic. He was exceptionally good. And nobody had ever heard of him. And now he's done the same thing with Fernando Mendoza. Dude can develop, and that's why I think he's getting a discount. A lot of guys come to Indiana, they're like, we've heard we're going to get developed here. So you may see that Indiana doesn't have to spend quite as much as everybody else, and it does make sense. Now, everything's changing now. It's going to be tougher to get in the portal and get all those premium players because everybody sees it now. And you've seen Alabama, Georgia, you've seen all these. Ohio State's been heavy in there in the portal. Texas A&M, everybody's getting heavy in the portal. So, that, what do you call that? A target-rich environment that Indiana had for 2 years, that's gone. Starting this year, that's all gone. You're not going to be able to just, here's this prime player that nobody really respects, and I can get him for $100,000 or $200,000. Now it's going to be $500,000, $800,000. So the money's not going to go like it used to. And the same thing with Lane, although Lane's just decided, I'm going to spend whatever. He was the reporting, and I watch a lot of the LSU guys that are either journalists or YouTubers. And one of them talks about it all the time, and they've reported that he had an extra $25 million, which is why he picked LSU. Florida would not do that for him. Steve Strickland, who is the athletic director at Florida, not only would he not give him that amount of money on top of I think Florida's going to try to follow the rules. Strickland made it clear that your general manager, to help you procure all these players, answers to me, the athletic director, not to you, Lane Kiffin. And you answer to me. I am the grand poobah, and you are number 2, and you are number 2. And Lane said, bye-bye, bye-bye. I'm not doing that, because he was grand poobah at Ole Miss. Well, then LSU fired Brian Kelly and said, oh, Lane, you can run the whole show here, do whatever you want, and we're going to give you an extra $25 million on top of that to spend on top of the House settlement. That's the reporting, allegedly. And it's been heavily reported. Okay. And look, Ole Miss did everything they could to get him the extra money. They just couldn't come up with it. You know, Ole Miss does not have the backing that LSU does. LSU's got, first of all, a big state. They don't have a Mississippi State to deal with. But on top of that, they've got New Orleans and all those places, and there's some big hitters down there. So they were able to procure a ton of money for them. And you also got to realize football is very much an institution in Louisiana. People are crazy passionate about it. And Ole Miss, they care about it, okay? But they also are concerned about hotty-toddy, and, you know, they got, 50,000, 60,000 stadium there. And they care about it, but not like Louisiana people are crazy about football. And they're crazy about their New Orleans Saints. Only thing they're crazier about is probably food. The food down there is unbelievable. Unbelievable. There's none better in the world. They even took a stupid donut and turned it into the greatest thing in the world. Those stupid beignets are unbelievable too. So anyway, and I've been on a tangent here. All right, I'm going to end this broadcast here in just a second. I appreciate y'all showing up here. Let me pull something up for y'all that'll be funny here at the end. Yeah, here's who I think is going to win, and I think it's just a matter they just got to keep the metal to the pedal and the thing to the floor.
I'm going. I got the metal to the pedal and the thing to the floor.
All right. Hope you enjoy the game. I may very well do a post-game show analysis as well. Just depends on how late it ends and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, appreciate y'all showing up. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.